Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions Sora Luna.
Hello.
And SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
We're running a little light tonight. If this was a catamaran, we'd be falling over.
Yeah, it would be healing up big time.
Eat a big lunch.
Hike out a little bit more there.
Got to keep this cat from flopping over.
No, isn't that the truth? Been there, done that. Oh man, it's good to see you guys tonight.
Yeah, it's good to see you tonight too. And Sora and I were hanging out, just generally talking. It's one of those weekends where I think a lot of people have a lot of things to do.
Yeah,
absolutely, totally fine.
Yeah.
Oh, so did you? Were you up to no good tonight, Skep? Or today?
Well, actually, I was looking through your. I think you've got a wonderful set of topics for us to talk about tonight. I think there's 2 hours in this, no problem.
Well, with fewer people, it may be exactly 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. But we're not going to talk about Eastern European strife.
We're not going to. Yes, we're not saying the U word.
And we're not even. I don't think anything in this is actually all that rage-inducing. I think actually this is like the most happy-go-lucky show we've had in quite a long time.
The multi-level marketing stuff is a little infuriating, but yeah, by and large, this is pretty fun.
But mostly you laugh at people who do that stuff. It's really just one of those things I don't get.
Just before we start off, I once had a guy. What was it? He was calling me up. He was Shackley's, trying to get me interested in Shackley's. This other guy calls me up from what's the big multi-level Amway,
Scamway,
and this other friend calls me up, and he's into Amway. I'm going, what is going on? So I gave the Amway guy the Shackley guy's number, and it evidently opened up some kind of black hole vortex in the multi-level marketing mesosphere. At any rate, I never heard from either one of them again.
Well, if you and I ever do get off our asses and do our little tech nerd stream,
yes,
I think we're going to have to bring up a window of Emacs where we split it into 2 frames, and we'll do the thing where we have the Zippy the Pinhead emulator feed stuff to Eliza and back and forth. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That was good fun.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The rest of you will have to wait to find out. We'll have to find out what that is.
Zippy the Pinhead is one of my all-time favorite comics too. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Zippy the Pinhead. I've been following them for years. Corresponded with the author, the whole thing. I was a real fanboy. I really was.
Well, there's a few things that kind of fall into that category. There used to be a time when you could get pretty far just doing edgy and interesting black and white comics.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Matt Groening before, or was it Groening? Groening. Before The Simpsons, back when it was Akbar and Jeff.
Yes, absolutely. Akbar and Jeff, man, I remember that too. We probably read all the same comics.
Akbar and Jeff's, it would always be Akbar and Jeff's something hut. So it'd be like, Akbar and Jeff's colostomy hut, where the elite come to meet and get colostomy treats. There'd be like, man, we're really just, we've got some real crowd appeal going here. Akbar and Jeff and Zippy the Pinhead.
Absolutely. That's quality humor, actually, if you really want to know the truth.
So what about you, Sora? Anything you want to unburden yourself of before we start?
Oh, nothing really too crazy. Just enjoying having a day out. We literally timed the bad weather, so had sun, had out in town. It was lovely. So
nice.
Looking forward to rest of the weekend for equal timing.
Dogs are good.
Yeah.
Good. Sounds like nicer weather in Canada than they're having in Virginia.
Oh, I heard about that. I'm so sorry.
That's just awful, then.
Well, because it's snowing. Well, they've got a couple inches of snow or a few inches
Oh yeah.
of snow.
I mean, that's basically going to freeze them in place until July.
Hey, anybody who's got water coming down in whatever form, I'm jealous of. I'm not looking forward to the Navy showers. That's all I'm saying. So, let's see. So there was something I was doing recently, and I got on this weird kick where I thought I'm going to build myself a new computer keyboard because I spend all this time typing. I should have a keyboard that suits me. And it's a deep rabbit hole. You can go completely nuts with it. People actually buy keyboards and take the switches apart and go in with little horsehair brushes and lube the switches with special things and swap out springs. They go completely nuts. I wasn't going that crazy. But I decided to build a keyboard. And I ended up, let's see, we can just do this here. Just do these in a slightly different order since there's a small crew today. Let's do this. So I built this thing. And you might notice this font looks a lot like something off the side of a bronze shaver.
Mm-hmm.
It's very mid-century because it just kind of suits me. And it's like very specific in terms of its design. And this is actually sort of based off of the philosophy of this guy, Dieter Rams. Now, he is a big deal in the world of industrial design.
He's a simple guy.
He is a simple guy. Now, a lot of you may think, oh, this has nothing to do with me. Well, no, that's actually not true. A lot of things that people use are actually very much influenced by the stuff that this guy did. So I thought maybe we would take a very, very short look at Dieter Rams and his stuff. So it's like, as designers, we have great responsibility. This is a quote. I believe designs should eliminate the unnecessary. That means eliminating everything that is modish, because this kind of thing is only short-lived. So he doesn't like just making ephemeral crap that you throw away, that just sort of goes out of style. He's a German industrial designer, trained and worked as an architect before joining Braun. Within a few years, he became their chief of design. And he did this for 35 years. During his tenure, he and his team designed many iconic devices ranging from record players to furniture to storage systems. He's also credited with the memorable phase, which basically translates to less but better. He came up with something that he's well known for, which is his 10 principles of good design. We are not going to go through all 10 of them. But a lot of this stuff might look familiar. So this is a radio. Very simple. This is a thing that wouldn't look terrible today. Good design is innovative. The possibilities for innovation are not by any means exhausted. Technological development is always offering new opportunities for innovative design, but innovative design always develops in tandem with innovative technology and can never be an end in itself. Meaning that design shouldn't just be affectation. It actually needs to have some relationship to function. And this is the next thing. Good design makes a product useful. A good thing to state, actually. Good design is aesthetic. Also fairly obvious. Good design makes a product understandable. Good design is unobtrusive. Good design is honest. It says, does not make a product more innovative, powerful, or valuable than it really is. It does not attempt to manipulate the consumer with promises that cannot be kept. This guy's actually got some real values. Good design is long-lasting, and this is one of the two big ones that's really important, which is you shouldn't make things that look like they're anchored in like a 2-year period of time. You should make things that will look good forever. They shouldn't be modish, in the sense of like the mod squad.
That's kind of one of those nice work, if you can get it, statements, because you don't really know how things are going to change. I know what he's saying, and I agree with it. I bought a Braun washer and dryer years ago that followed this design to a T. I mean, the front of this washer had practically nothing on it. It had like one control, and it did everything elegantly. It's still the best washer. It's as good as the LG I have, 15 years later. It was already doing that. It was really a great washer. Washer and dryer.
Well, I have a. Well, I was for a while there to go with my vintage house. I was getting some vintage, vintage audio equipment. The problem with vintage audio equipment is it breaks.
It's vintage.
It's vintage, and capacitors start to go, and then you get
Yeah.
into having to recap things, and it's terrible. And then I realized that Yamaha used to make really nice looking home audio equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it looked fantastic, and it was very simple. You can go out and buy a modern Yamaha amplifier, just a standard amplifier, not a receiver, but an amplifier. And other than the red LED in one corner, you could not tell that this thing wasn't made in 1970. That's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. Good design is long lasting.
No.
And so I finally realized I don't actually have to buy vintage things that just keep breaking. I could just buy modern things that aren't actually mod, that don't just have expiration dates of a few years, kind of like, throw those lapels out, they're too wide, get a new car. Those tail fins are too small, that kind of thing.
That standard changes from item to item.
Yes.
And item type to item type. So just point that out.
Well, nobody said it was going to be easy. That's
Yeah,
why
right.
guys like this who do this for 35 years,
Special.
And of course, good design is detail oriented. Details do actually matter. And let's forget the environment right now because I'm not in the mood to enrage myself.
Yeah, thank you.
Good design is as little design as possible.
Yes.
So we see this thing. So this is actually a radio. It's 2 bands, and there's a volume knob, but the volume knob is also the on-off button. This was revolutionary at the time. You turn the volume all the way down, and there's a click, and it's off.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's perfect. And when you look at the kind of stuff he did, this stuff might look kind of familiar. Here's another piece. Here's his radio. Here's the first version of the iPod.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Johnny Ive, as revolutionary as he was many people believe that he was heavily influenced by Rams.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it wouldn't be a surprise if he was. I mean,
no, wouldn't it be at all?
But this is an example of like things he was doing in this is a very modern thing for 1958.
That's astonishing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
look at what else was coming out in 1950.
Well, the original iPod was actually pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about what you had before that iPod, right? At most, you
Walkman?
might have. Well, yeah, you'd have a Walkman or maybe
Discman?
like a little solid state MP3 player that
Right.
contained a little bit of stuff. But the people at Apple were smart enough to go out and find this incredibly small hard drive. It was like a little tiny hard drive that actually had rotating platters and stuff. This is not a solid state device.
I know.
And somebody realized, hey, wait a second, we could actually use this and you could carry around tens of thousands of songs in your pocket, mind blown. There's a whole story about how Apple actually sort of stumbled into the iPod, which we're not going to get into right now. But it's one of those great stories from the world of design. But I mean, it's heavily influenced by Ram's stuff. I mean, it's kind of obvious if you look at it right here. I don't think this is some kind of coincidence. So anyway, that was Dieter, and there's books about him and books by him and all sorts of other cool things. I just think design is actually really an interesting topic. Because when you find, a thing of beauty is a joy forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is true. I try to buy things that don't just expire and that aren't just really just ephemeral. So I just figured I'd throw that out there as something a little different for our show.
Very nice. Very beautiful, actually.
Yeah. And he's still working.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's still doing design. He's still,
he's only
not
79
retiring.
or 89.
He's only 89 and still holding down a full-time job. Yeah. Why not?
My dad's 94 and has about a 3/4 time job.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of design and things like that, Apple came out with a new incredibly expensive thing. So it's like you basically took the Mac Mini and filled it full of steroids. It's just this big
The
chunky,
Chad.
yeah, it's this big chunky, not quite cube of a thing. And you might think,
Look at
okay, so
that.
it's just another expensive Apple thing. Of course, this webpage is kind of amazing too. It's like, and then suddenly you do
You go
this.
inside it.
Go inside it and do all this sort of stuff. But they ended up coming up with this new chip, this M1
Yes.
Ultra. So it was not that long ago that you had the M1 Max, which is a pretty darn powerful chip of it in itself, with the 10 cores and 32 core GPU.
If one
and
M1
memory.
Max is good,
It's got the memory and the disk and everything basically all on one chip.
right.
So what they've done is they've essentially taken two of these damn things and smushed them together.
Linked them together with 10,000 tiny connections.
Yes.
Wow.
So here's the original M1 on the left. This is basically your iPad type thing, your original Mac Silicon sort of thing that a lot of people have. And then there's the Pro, and then there's the Max, and then there's this thick boy over here, which is the M1 Ultra, which is effectively two of these M1 Maxes smashed together. It's like, oh, we need twice as much. Well, why not just smash them together?
Well,
'cause-
why not?
Yeah, because why not? Well, if you look at how computers are built, anybody who's ever built a PC knows there's all these discrete components. You've got your storage component, you've got your memory, you've got your CPUs, and all this stuff has to sort of talk to each other. Most people probably haven't actually taken the time to build a PC that actually has two CPU sockets. So there
Right.
may be like one socket and then there's a CPU and it has a bunch of CPU cores in it. But most people don't work with things in the home that have more than two CPU sockets. But you can have computers that do that. They're not that much more expensive. And what has to happen is each of them has their own memory. And there's an actual connection on the motherboard that makes it so that each CPU can address the memory that's basically attached to the other CPU and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've done here, by
However-
doing it at the silicon level,
Yes.
is they've made it so that it's much, much, much faster, to the point where this is effectively one CPU, even though it's really two CPUs with 20 cores total. This is fairly amazing. Now,
Yeah.
Intel's working on something that is going to be, even more amazing.
More amazing.
But that's not here, and this is here. So by combining the two chips, Apple's M1 Ultra delivers a stunning 114 billion
transistors. When I actually highlighted that on the article when I read that, I just had to stare at that for a minute.
That's just like a stunning number. That make up 20 processing cores and 64 graphics cores. By comparison, AMD Ryzen desktop processors are something like a tenth that.
Yeah.
A tenth.
So what?
This is
This is like a monster. What?
it's a
why-
beast.
I can see this maybe for like somebody who uses high processing applications like animation, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Is that what it's for?
Yep. It's for people who do things where time equals money. People who have to render things quickly to get them ready for production, like up on the web, or just commercial work. So this would be something that commercial artists would use quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever edited something in Premiere or a DaVinci Resolve, but once you actually get your video ready to go, you have to export it. Which means you take all this stuff and you encode it into the format that you need. So getting from the workspace into something that's actually ready to upload takes a tremendously long time. Well, not anymore. Between just the sheer GPU power that this thing has, plus the fact that it has dedicated engines that it basically in hardware accelerate the process of doing the encoding. It's like insanely
Do you know
fast.
what that does? Yeah. It's going to be rendered by the time the spring in your mouse clicks up.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe not quite that fast, but it's definitely going to be
That's where
bother
we're
getting
headed.
up. Don't
That's
bother
where we're headed,
getting up.
Harry. Yeah. That's where we're headed, Harry.
So because of this design, the GPU has access to just tons and tons of memory. If you get an RTX 3090, a very high-end NVIDIA card, you might have 32 gigs of memory on that card. And yeah, you can put multiple cards in the right thing with NVLink combining them so that you can sort of access the memory between the two cards. There's things you can do, but this is all like very expensive, produces a lot of heat. There's a lot of drama to go along with what you're trying to do.
Tell me about it.
This is just effortless. It's like, here, Apple, take my money, and in return, you get this super fast thing.
Oh.
That's also actually very efficient in terms of power. So Apple's UltraFusion, the name of the packaging technology, meaning the thing that smashes the two chips together, uses a narrow silicon slice called an interposer that resides beneath the two M1 Max chips, linking them with 10,000 wires that can carry 2.5 terabytes of data per second.
Let's just soak in that for a minute, okay?
Let that marinate in your noggin.
Does everybody know how much a terabyte is?
If you do something like this on a motherboard, right? You have like a workstation class thing, right? And you have two CPU sockets, you got cores on each of these things. They will communicate, but it's what's called a non-uniform memory architecture, NUMA,
Right.
meaning that some pieces of memory are slower to get to than other pieces of memory. And you take about a 15% hit, meaning if I'm on CPU A, I can access my memory just fine. On CPU B, it's got memory, but if I want my program to use that memory, I take about a 15% hit.
And that's per transaction, folks.
There's no hit here. No hit that you're going to notice, not at 2.5 terabytes per second. You've Siamese twinned these things together so effectively that they are effectively one processor.
Yeah.
Even though they really are two pretending to be one.
But that really is an amazing advance. Just the engineering that's required to do that level of precision to engineer something like this, not to mention just the sheer brain power that goes into putting something like this together. My respect, man.
Well, there's only it's a finite, of course it's a finite number, but there's only a small number of people on the planet who know how to do this kind of engineering. At this level. And, some of them work for Intel, some of them work for AMD, some of them work for NVIDIA, there's a handful of them, but Apple did a very good job of going out and getting talent. And because they haven't really been in the designing their own chips business for that long.
I know I'm still kind of amazed that they went that road. I guess they felt like they didn't have an alternative with they didn't have a vendor who was going to do any better a job than at putting something like this together than they could. I mean, it's the ultimate make or buy decision. You spend a lot of time on this in business school, make or buy decisions. And boy, they rolled the bones on this one, and I think came up 7.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Valine's talking about I did a dual processor PC currently a key for chip. Yeah, basically. I've built systems with a lot of processors in them. Just sort of workstations, server class things. You rarely see more than 4 CPU sockets on a motherboard. Normally, once you get past that kind of level, you start looking at building clusters of things that have 4 processors. And those interconnects are a lot smaller. Here, on your desktop, you've just got this insane little piece of equipment. And yeah, $4,000 is a lot of money, but not when you're getting paid by the hour to export videos for people. Then that's a cheap date, actually, for somebody like that. I will not be going out and buying one of those anytime soon. So, speaking of cool things,
you will not be buying one anytime soon.
No, my laptop is actually only has half as much processor power, and it's fine. It's just fine because when I need more than this, I go to a proper server with a giant Xeon chip in it. Endurance. Shackleton's lost ship is found in Antarctic. Did you guys get a chance to look at this?
I did.
So this was very, very hard to find. In fact, they back in 2019 kind of gave up the search for a while because they were tired of not finding it.
Well, if they were looking for a ship called Endurance, duh.
Well, for people at home who may not know the story, Shackleton was trying to basically navigate, traverse the Antarctic. And one of his ship, Endurance, got stuck in the ice, as tends to happen when you get too close to the Antarctic. So it essentially became a survival thing fairly quickly. Things did not go well for Shackleton, but they lost the ship. It sank, and they've been trying to find it just because it's historically really interesting. What's cool about this, though, is that it's in astonishingly good shape. You know, because you see shipwrecks all the time. This is a wooden ship.
Yeah, but there's no bacteria down there to eat it, right?
Well, it's 10,000 feet under the water right now, and it is absolutely bitterly cold. And so it says its timbers, although disrupted, are still very much together, and the name Endurance is clearly visible on the stern.
It's not only visible; it's gleaming in that light. That is an amazing shape. And when you look at the wood, that's the surprising part to me. The wood has been preserved, but I was reading that article that they don't have any wood eating organisms at that depth and temperature.
Yeah, stuff showed up, but it's just hanging out with the ship as opposed to eating it.
Yeah.
So it says, without any exaggeration, this is the first wooden shipwreck I've ever seen by far, said maritime Uber dude Menson Bound. That's a hell of a name. It is upright, well proud of the seabed, intact, and in a brilliant state of preservation. So this is it on the ice as everybody's like running away because everything is screwed up. They were able to find this thing. It's astonishing. And so here's
the ice
roughly,
actually crushed it, didn't it? Wasn't it caught and trapped in the ice, and they basically just walked away from it and watched the ice crush it?
Yeah,
I think it took a little bit for it to fully sink.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so it was right in here. Here's the search area. This is the Big Frosty. This is not a fun place to be in a wooden ship, but hey, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
You know, just the sheer guts of these guys on Shackleton's expedition. I mean, I'm sure some of them didn't know maybe what they would be facing, but most of those guys knew what they were walking into. Man, that just is cast iron balls as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, here's basically a picture of the deck with the wheel, and I know I'm not using the nautical terms. I'm sorry.
Well,
but
the
you
wheel
can see
is
that
right.
it's amazingly intact.
The helm.
So this is pretty cool. Now, they are not going to be messing with this.
No.
So we had to use special equipment, yada, yada, yada.
They're preserving it.
Yeah, so it's actually, it's being preserved. You're not allowed
As
to
is
take
where
stuff
it
from
is.
it. They haven't
Actually,
pulled
that's
anything
not.
up.
No, that's not true, Harry. I'm sorry.
It's not?
No. I want to announce this here that I can get you for $20. You can come over and participate in a party to buy a block of wood that actually comes from the Endurance, the ship itself. And it'll be delivered to you. And if you can bring 6 of your friends, you get in free.
Nice.
Try to tie
know.
it back. See how that works.
Seems pretty sus to me. Seems pretty sus.
Old man jokes.
Anyway,
flat.
this is cool. It says the wreck itself is a designated monument under the International Arctic Treaty and must not be disturbed in any way. No physical artifacts have therefore been brought to the surface, except for the one that Skep described. All right, let's see. Moving on if there are no questions about this. So, unfortunately, functional... sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I was just going to bring up, for those of you, there is a rich trove of time wasting awaiting you if you drill down into Shackleton's Voyage and look also into something called, I believe it's called Scott's Cabin on the Antarctic, on that little peninsula there. And you get a lot of this stuff has been preserved, and you can go on these virtual tours and see what, Robert Falcon Scott's, cabin that he was trying to make to, looked like, what would have been awaiting for him if he had made the last, 10 miles or whatever it was that he was short. And you can also see a lot of stuff from the Shackleton exhibition. I mean, it's just like it was when they left. Because the temperature just it's frozen in time. It's fascinating to look at. Anyway, I just wanted to recommend that.
No, that's fine. Geodes is tied up tonight, so no Geodes. So I just forgot. Hey, I'm on my own here as far as chat goes. So I just went ahead and put the links so far, getting everybody caught up.
I'm sorry. I can do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I have the stuff open. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't even think about it.
Well, I didn't.
I've got it open too. I can always do that too. I wasn't.
Well, let Sora do it. She volunteered.
Yeah. No, she's.
You didn't step backwards when we asked for volunteers. So this is supposed to be for functional, but we'll just make fun of functional in his absence, because I like to taunt him with 3 ingredient recipes from Kirby and people like that. So I thought
cookies that aren't cookies.
Yeah, cookies that aren't cookies and all that sort of stuff. Let me make sure that the sound is actually
deconstructed pies.
Right, and Serenity's feeling under the weather, so she couldn't make it.
Oh.
So, but we were looking at those banana pancakes, which I said at best those are banana fritters, and screw those things. But here's actual pancakes: batter, apples, crumble, flip, bake, stuff. You don't like it?
I'm a pancake purist, I'm afraid.
You don't like stuff in your pancakes?
I don't like
I prefer crepes.
Oh,
like
fine.
Too. I like
you prefer a completely different type of food. Good God.
No, it actually looks like it smells delicious. I would try that very much.
But banana fritters with 3 ingredients are nonsense.
Oh, delicious. Yeah. No, that's good. That's great. That is.
This actually has look at how many ingredients. My God, just the topping has just the streusel topping's got 5 ingredients. Kirby would be so offended. And the batter's got there's like a dozen things here.
Yeah, but sometimes you want brown sugar, butter, and cinnamon all in the same recipe, where you're going to also need baking powder, salt, nutmeg.
Yeah, but you only get 3, Skep, because apparently this whole 3 ingredient recipe thing is just dumb. If you're making ice cream, you need 5 ingredients. But
yes.
Why does the number of ingredients matter?
But so it's really funny because one of my favorite content creators, his name is B. Dylan Hollis, and he's on TikTok, but he has his own YouTube channel, and he does vintage recipes, and there's a lot of recipes from the Great Depression that he tries out, and even from the Great Depression, they're not necessarily 3 ingredients. There's at least 4 or 5. And with the barest minimum that you could have gotten during the Great Depression, right?
Yeah.
Like water is a main ingredient for pie kind of thing. And yet it's still not this crap. Well, the 3 ingredient stuff.
But yeah,
it's not really a cookie.
I just wanted to show, if you're going to make pancakes with fruit in them, I mean, because if I'm going to make pancakes, I'm just going to make sourdough pancakes. That's just me. I don't put anything in them, and the only thing I serve with them is real maple syrup, and that is fake crap, and butter. I like my pancakes like George Washington liked his pancakes. Swimming in butter and maple syrup. That's
the way I like them too. That's how I like them too. Yeah. Let me ask you this: maple syrup. What kind of maple syrup do you favor?
I mean, like a brand, or are you talking a grade? I usually go with the grade A amber.
Okay, the amber, yeah.
Yeah, or I'll go a little darker, but grade B is a bit much. It's great for cooking, but I wouldn't put it on top of my pancakes. No, pancakes for me are you have to put sourdough starter in the mix and make a batter, and it has to sit in the fridge overnight, and then you make more stuff later, and it's all just yeast power basically holding them up.
Yeah.
No baking powder, none of that sort of stuff.
First line my mother ever told me was concerning pancakes.
Yeah.
We're out of syrup one morning, and she said, "Just use honey. It's just as good."
No, it's not.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry.
it's not.
No.
I
mean,
could
it's
see
delicious, but it's not.
maybe Lyle's golden syrup, but not honey.
Not honey. It's
Not
not
honey.
as good as maple syrup, which is what I grew up on.
So I'm going to skip the next thing, Sora, and just go
Okay.
straight to Juicy. So Juicy got sentenced. And a lot of people seem to be really surprised by the fact that he actually is going to get any jail time. I'm a little bit surprised because, I mean, I heard people who actually knew what the hell they were talking about saying they thought that he was not going to get any jail time. So 150 days, that's way more than I expected.
He was charged with I forget what it is, but it's some it's a crime that does not usually merit jail time on the first go round. You know, you get jail if you're a repeat offender. You keep showing up in front of the judge, he finally sends you to jail. That's usually what happens. But what he did was so egregious. And when the judge got up there and told him that you sat here for hours and perjured yourself, you indulged in perjury for hours in front of this court, and that, I think that pissed off the judge. He just, you know, if this guy had come up and said, "Look, I screwed up. I, believe the ends justified the means, and I hatched something because I thought I was doing something, important, and I shouldn't have done it, and I'm sorry." If he'd done that, he gets no jail time, and maybe the public even starts to say, "All right, he's a fuck up, but at least he can act." And then the left enfolds him in their bosom and takes him back. He's fucked now. He's toast. No one will ever forget this now because he kept doubling down, thinking that the bullshit would save him, but it's not. It's not going to save him. He's fucked.
Isn't there video of his dress rehearsal for the crime?
Oh my God.
I don't know I don't know if there's dress rehearsal video of it. I can check that out real quick.
I'm in my mind, I can't separate out the comedy from the fact at this point, but I vaguely recall that I think he actually documented him talking to the two guys that he hired, telling them how they were going to do this whole thing. I mean, it was like full on Nixon White House kind of level of cell phone.
Jesus Christ. So his fabricated claim, right? According to the mayor, resulted in over 1,500 hours of police work and cost the city of Chicago $130,000 in police overtime.
Yeah.
For this one case that was fake. And I hate to be that person, but how many assault crimes and other horrible crimes put on the back burner because he was a celebrity?
No, you can be that
Shitty
person.
celebrity.
I mean, what was the opportunity cost of him doing this thing?
And the fact that because of having to walk on eggshells due to him being half black or full black, I don't know what his ethnic background is, but because of all of this stuff and the fact that it was the whole MAGA country thing, he said he had a noose around his neck. You had to be so careful and even extra to how the police spoke about the case. And this whole thing is stupid. Have fun in prison.
Actually,
you deserve it.
Ethnically, he is considered a full-blooded shithead.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just anthropologically, that's how we would classify him.
And there he is talking about how he's not going to come down with Clinton's in jail. So
nobody would waste their
cares,
time. Yeah.
Nobody cares, and
you're not important enough for somebody to disconnect the security camera and pay off the guards.
Not even worth killing.
How
Not important enough to kill.
Not to mention it's jail, not prison. You're literally just going to county jail. You don't need preferential treatment. You don't need no. He's being theatrical.
Listen, I've spent some time down at the Cook County Jail, not as an inmate. That would come later, but I'm not going there. Anyway, when I was doing the Center for Urban Studies stuff at 1973, I had to go down to the Cook County Jail a couple of times, couple of write-ups that I got to do down there. That is an absolutely hopeless, angry, scary place. He's not going to enjoy himself. I suspect that they will keep him there in solitary. This is what I predict. I predict they'll keep him in solitary for about a month and then say, he's been perfect, get him out of there. You know, he's wigging out and he's been doing perfectly. Judge, can you cut him some slack? The judge will issue an order and that'll be he'll be out. I really think that will happen.
Yeah, but probably, or 45 days. I mean, because with good
Something
behavior,
like
he's out in 75 anyway.
Right.
So he'll get double secret good behavior. But the key thing is that at least in addition to the rather large amount of money that they're going to extract from his hide, he is actually going to spend some time not being a free man. And it goes down on his record that he's a felon, a multiple felon.
Yep.
And that's going to follow him forever.
Actually, he can get that quashed in Illinois.
Of course he can.
You know, if you were in Texas, yeah, it's like a brand. But if in Illinois, yeah, you can actually have a judge if you've been good for a while, but you have to be good for a while. Well, in Jesse's case, I think 6 months, 9 months. Yeah.
Well, he could have gone in for a couple years, but this is actually still relatively light. So I guess Samuel Jackson and his wife and some other celebrities as well, before all this came down, said, yeah, you know, cut him some slack. It's his first time. He's a good boy. We've known him, you know, since he was a kid. Just let him off the hook. But I guess Sam Jackson doesn't have the clout to get him off completely.
Samuel Jackson is an actor. Sorry, Sora.
He is.
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Well, at least he's not trying to make statements about energy policy like a certain other actor last week. Nathan Fillion, for anybody who missed it.
Right.
All right. Well, let's see.
Nathan Fillion, who I love to watch on the big screen, but when he opens his mouth and philosophizes, I just am done. Well,
Gabby Petito's parents have filed a suit against Brian Laundrie's family, and I understand why they're hurt. I understand why they're upset, but I'm not entirely sure I understand the rationale for this, because of course you can sue anybody for any reason at any time. Anybody can sue anybody. That's not the issue. So if you're saying how can they do this, they can absolutely sue. Whether they're going to win or not is a whole different thing. Let me just read this quick thing.
They're not going to win.
Christopher Landry and Roberta Landry exhibited extreme and outrageous conduct which constitutes behavior under the circumstances which goes beyond all possible bounds of decency and was regarded as shocking, atrocious, and utterly intolerable in a civilized community. Okay, I still don't see what the offense is in terms of law. The lawsuit alleges, as a direct and proximate result of the willfulness and maliciousness of, people, Joseph Petito and Nick don't care, have been caused to suffer pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, loss of capacity for enjoyment of life experienced in the past and to be experienced in the future.
Is it because
understand
the
it
parents
sucks, but
are seen?
Well, they're thinking that they were an obstruction to the process of finding out what happened to their daughter.
Yeah, I'm with Gamer Verlene said they hid their son when she was missing. Yeah, it seems that they were kind of, I don't know if I didn't really follow this case much, so I don't know if it was proven one way or another if they were accessory to help their son hide, but they were very unhelpful and in fact were almost hostile to the investigation and sort of the how dare you accuse our son kind of thing at the time, which was very suspicious. But I mean, a lot of people act in suspicious ways when they're in a shock stage. So it's could have been just their normal reaction, but it just seems like grieving parents who are not able to bring the killer of their daughter to justice because he decided to be sad and a coward and died by his own hand, and so they're going after the parents, sort of going after the estate of the guilty party.
Right.
And I mean, they'll make some noise, drag the names of his parents through the mud if it's not already done so, because they're the parents of a killer, and that'll be it.
I researched this out a little bit. I agree with Sora. Basically, in order to bring a wrongful death claim, you have to be able to prove affirmatively 4 elements. You must prove negligence. You must prove breach of duty. In order to be successful in the case of a wrongful death, you'll need to be able to prove that the defendant owed a duty to the victim. For example, motorists have the duty to drive safely and follow and obey traffic laws. Okay, medical health providers and doctors have a duty to maintain a person's health. The plaintiff has to be able to establish in court to the satisfaction of a judge how the duty of the defendant existed, and that that the duty was breached and breached negligently. Okay, so that's breach of duty. The breach of duty part is really hard. Causation. Additionally, you have to be able to prove that the duty of the defendant was breached toward the victim. The plaintiff in the lawsuit will also be required to prove how the negligence of the defendant, the parents, caused the death of their loved one. And that's generally has to be pretty direct. That indirect, this happened to this, Rube Goldberg, no, that doesn't work. That will fall apart.
Yeah.
In order to prove, the last thing is you have to prove that the death of the victim will also need to generate quantifiable damages that you can show receipts for, like hospitalization, medical expenses, burying the person, funeral, the loss of earnings, loss of income, loss of companionship, protection, guidance, inheritance, pain and suffering, all that stuff. You have to prove that. And you have to prove it you have to prove all 4 of these elements, and you have to prove them to the satisfaction of a judge. I don't think there's a chance in hell for this lawsuit.
I don't either. I understand that all of these things are bad. I understand that they're in pain. I'm just trying to figure out how it's illegal.
It's not
the
illegal.
point to the point.
It's not a civil.
Law,
it's not. Yeah. It's not a civil tort, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's neither a civil tort nor is it a fraud or misrepresentation or. This is simple. We feel damaged. We want money.
Yeah.
We should get money from the bad people. No, sorry, the law doesn't work that way. Maybe,
yeah, because if you get money from everybody who causes you pain and suffering, mental anguish,
exactly.
inconvenience, loss of capacity for enjoyment of life, I can think of a whole bunch of people who we could be suing right now if that was the standard.
We wouldn't have airlines.
Yeah.
So you have to have, that's the other thing is, which is a whole nother thing, is called limitation of liability. And that's another area of the law that you have to, after you get past these 4 elements of proof, you have to scamper past that.
Well, let's see. This just in. Voline sent me this just a moment ago. I haven't looked at it. Brian Laundrie wrote that he killed Gabby Petito, the FBI says. Well, I don't think there was much question about him doing it, but an admission, that's good. And then he killed himself.
And how did the parents hurt Gabby Petito's parents? Prove those 4 elements? No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, they definitely made their life worse by protracting things and helping to cover everything up.
No.
But I don't think it's I don't see where there's a lawsuit here.
Yeah, there's
admittedly I'm an amateur.
This is pain. This is pain and hoping that an insurance company will want this out of the news.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
All right, let's see. What is the next thing? Oh, this is actually something good. So there's let's say, the heroism displayed by Trooper Tony Shuck at the last line of defense. She placed herself directly in the path of a drunk driver heading toward a road closure where countless innocent bystanders were participating in a 10K race. So this person basically took the hit. Good job, Tony. You know, but the teachers are the real heroes. No.
Yeah.
Tony is the real hero. Because can you think about how many people could have gotten killed by this person?
Man, that's just
it's a little painful to watch.
Yeah.
well, actually inspired by it and glad to hear that, she's okay. But that takes real courage.
It does.
And real selflessness. I mean, we owe people like this.
Angry Cops is going to give Tony a POB. I'm just going to throw that out there as a prediction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite hanging by a rope near Niagara Falls, trying not to be swept away by the car, but it's right up there because there's no guaranteed outcome for her here.
No. Also makes you realize how valuable those side airbags are. Watch this thing come out. Watch this thing come out right here.
Yeah.
I was watching this on, 1/10 speed or whatever the lowest speed is on YouTube, quarter speed. And it just was, it's even worse.
Here's
even worse.
Here's a article about in the side check if you want to see what the car looks like.
You can see or make the correction. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Thanks.
Okay, let's see. There's her. Ow. Well. Oh, and she's with commercial vehicle enforcement too. It isn't even her job to deal with idiots like this.
I know.
She stepped up.
Well, Chevy Tahoe, you got a good advertisement on this. Because that's what she had.
Straight.
Yeah, how did the Perps car do?
Not very well. It's the one on the left.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the one on the left?
Yeah.
Let's get a better look at this here. Oh my!
Let's see. Shuck's Cruiser, a formidable-looking Chevy Tahoe, had its front end crashed inward by a BMW driven by 52-year-old
it's a freaking BMW.
It's a Beamer.
And it was a Whammon who did it too. Watts had a medical blood alcohol level of 0.271.
That's what I'm talking about.
Man,
yeah.
School's out forever.
Yeah.
That's good.
I believe old Kristen is probably headed for the pokey, don't you?
She has been charged with 2 counts of DUI with damage to property or person, 2 counts of reckless driving with damage to property or person, and DUI causing serious bodily harm or injury. Pardon me.
Good.
Good.
The fucking key.
Well, on the plus side for the defendant, she's not going to have to worry about planning her days for a while.
Yeah, it's true. Calendar is cleared.
Calendar's clear. Not available. Let's see. So, moving on. Liberal U.S. cities change course, now clearing homeless camps. What the hell took you so long? I mean, seriously. So even in Portland, Oregon, which is, makes San Francisco look conservative. Ted Wheeler,
go to the first line where he says, I would be an idiot to sit here and tell you that things are better today than they were 5 years ago with regard to homelessness. He had me with, I would be an idiot.
I know, that's exactly the same thought. It's like, are you sure you want to phrase this way, Ted? People in this city aren't stupid. They can open their eyes. Again,
boy, that's Kamala Harris levels of profundity.
of lack of self-awareness. As COVID-19 took root in the U.S., people on the streets were largely left on their own, with many cities halting sweeps of homeless camps following guidance from federal health officials. Because They are the experts on disease transmission, of course. The lack of remediation led to a
Nobody does it
situation
better.
that has spiraled out of control in many places, with frustrated residents calling for action as extreme forms of poverty play out on the streets. Wheeler has now used emergency powers to ban camping along certain roadways and says homelessness is the most important issue facing our community, bar none. Well, Antifa taking over intersections of your city where they threaten to beat or even kill people in their cars might also be a problem. But yes, homelessness is one of your big problems. Increasingly in liberal cities across the country where people living in tents in public spaces have long been tolerated, leaders are removing encampments and pushing other strict measures to address homelessness that would have been unheard of a few years ago. You know, it's just really, it's about time. So Seattle is moving in on these things.
Well, what
Washington,
are they doing with the,
D.C. is even doing something about it.
what are they doing with the homeless people?
Well, they've got a bunch of ideas. They one guy in Oregon was actually talking about some super fun camps they might set up, where they can just send these people and take care of them. That
Do you know
seems-
what they were doing in San Francisco? They were buying them bus tickets and sending them to Sacramento.
Yeah. That's a way of dealing with it. So
Yes.
they're spending a ton of money on all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
And we have this group of people that are professional homeless activists. And when you talk to them about this issue, they say, we don't need rooms, we need homes. The end game here is they want people basically just to get what everybody else works really hard for free. And that's where I start to get annoyed. But this is a low salt show, so I'm not going to be annoyed. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm just going to be happy that the tide is finally turning and people are starting to do something about it.
And you'll be happy to work for the same salary that somebody who wants to stay home and just play games all day. As long as you get the same salary, it's fair, right? It's equal.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff here from AP. I assume things haven't changed at all in your corner of the woods, Sora.
Well, they're wanting to give them to start building those free houses for them. So no, nothing has really changed.
Yeah, so if you want to solve a homeless problem,
it gets a bit better as the weather changes, because the camps aren't so prominent, because everybody it's pretty okay to sleep anywhere, so they kind of disperse a little bit. So instead of being in one enclosed area, they're now infecting the whole city. So that's fun for us, especially around my work. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
The day that they start actually properly, because they started moving people around, and they had the police take down, I think last year, here and there, some of the homeless camps, some of the tent cities, they spring up immediately overnight. So it's ineffectual, and because you have outside money allowing them to stay there, because what better way of running guns and drugs under the nose of the cops is through these camps. There's so many stories of them basically finally doing a raid and going through some tents, and they're like, oh wow, why are there so many? And we're not talking about like BB guns or something, right? No, we're talking about a restricted license guns, so automatic weapons of all kinds that shouldn't be on the street, and drugs of all kinds, etc. So
yeah,
it's they're not going away anytime soon. And here they're too scared to actually enforce anything really strong, because then everybody would be like, how could you? It's so anti-humanitarian, and they have rights too. I'm like, yeah, but the people who are living in these camps are killing little old women. Well, they're white, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I think
not,
that's the rhetoric.
it's
No,
no
that's
loss. It's no loss.
Well, all they've changed is they're making it so that they can't just live anywhere. And my suspicion is that it's going to be areas where businesses that bring tax revenue to the city are being impacted. They don't really care about individuals and, your right to live in a happy, peaceful environment. What they care about is losing tax revenues. And I think that's what's behind a lot of this stuff. They don't want their high-end stores and stuff just leaving the city center. So they're starting to selectively enforce the laws that they should be enforcing pretty much uniformly.
Well, we've had people literally coming because it's like, oh, it's so easy to just be a part of the tent cities. So I remember this was a couple of years back, and this is what has always stuck to me because it was just so outrageous. The young people with former jobs and places of residence on like the islands or something like that. Yeah, we came in onto the mainland and in solidarity to join these people. And yeah, I am collecting all sorts of benefits and getting help from being part of the street tent city thing. But yeah, I'm doing this in solidarity with everybody. But these are people who the previous day had a 9 to 5 or some sort of part-time job. They might have be going to some school, but yeah, they just felt like, oh, you mean I get paid just to live in a tent during the summertime when it's pretty okay? Yeah, totally. And that's what they did.
Or on a beach down in Venice Beach, California. It's imagine what you're talking about, except with perfect climate.
Yeah.
Pretty much year round. I mean, you're living in, you can live for free where some of the most expensive houses in the country are. Why have a multi-million-dollar house, near the coast down in Southern California when you can just pitch a tent right on the beach?
Well, why are we not giving $500,000 houses to the homeless?
Yeah, winner food stamp dinner.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, as long as we're nuking our currency, let's just print more, hand them the money, and say, here's your new house in Malibu.
Yeah. Well, just 3D print their house. It's just that easy. But
it's just
what we could do. They could eat this fish that I hate. Snail fish. I keep looking, going about the internet, minding my own business, and I keep running into things in the ocean that annoy me. So I'm introducing the snail fish. This is a dumb fish because it's actually missing most of the things that make a fish a fish.
Yeah, where's the fish part?
Okay, snailfish resemble pink, pudgy tadpoles. They have no scales. They have nearly gelatinous flesh, and most species have a sucking disc, which they attach to rocks or other surfaces in place of pelvic fins. They lack scales. The lack of scales partly explains why there are so many snailfish. Without that armor, snailfish are fragile and difficult to identify. So this is not even a proper fish. It even sucks at being a fish.
It even has a thing to suck.
Yeah. So here's another snailfish. Here's one off the Aleutians. That's an ugly thing.
Okay.
Screw this fish.
Okay.
There we
even
go.
As
I take it back. Fish, Harry isn't a hater for this one.
Yeah.
Even as ugly fish go, that's an ugly fish.
That's pretty bad.
Okay. So
that's better.
Yeah, snailfish. Not a fan. Don't like them. Now, they can live, one species of them, at incredibly deep levels. So here's some that are
cool.
This is sort of, well, except that it's kind of a bit of a nightmare fuel kind of thing here. There's another snailfish. He's ugly, terrible. Let's see. Here's video of some snailfish, very, very deep down. And it looks like something that would fly through the air that you'd see if, like, your pineal gland was activated and you were an H.P. Lovecraft thing. It moves more. That's not how fish are supposed to move.
It looks like
They do.
In the H.P. Lovecraft version of Tom Sawyer, what the fish looks like.
No,
they should show this in health class.
They should. When I was in high school, the woman who taught the health sex ed classes, she would always say sperms.
Mm-hmm, sperms, yeah. I had a football coach. It's the same
sperms.
Thing. Yeah. The gametes.
Sorry, if you don't even know the plural of sperm, I'm not sure why we should be listening to you. You just don't really seem like much of an expert. So this is here not so much because of the story, but because I think the headline is absolutely terrible. Necropsy team puts heart into examining a whale named Spot, a Valentine's Day to remember.
That's horrible. Who wrote that?
There's so much wrong with that headline. You just kind of have to admire it almost.
Yeah, that is a
Poor
thing
Spot.
to behold.
Poor Spot.
So the whale's name was Spot, and because it was on Valentine's Day, they did this. Necropsy team puts heart into examining a whale named Spot, a Valentine's Day to remember. I don't really have anything to say about this particular article other than whoever wrote this title for it needs to be beaten with a dead fish.
Or
You know who you are.
soaked in a tub full of your snailfish there.
Okay,
That
well,
would be horrible.
let's talk about how brave Tess Holiday is, because she's been fighting this anorexia thing, and she seems like she's kind of got it licked from where I'm sitting. But yeah, she's saying that weight loss bias has led to a delayed anorexia diagnosis. I mean, I'm not sure how they could have missed it, the diagnosis meaning. Sorry, the joke just kind of writes itself. I'm not really sure what I need to add. This is where Skep's brain stops working.
Every time I see this about the sharing the battle with anorexia, I keep thinking of all the memes that came out of the original posts where people are like, "Oh wow, she beat it into submission, all right."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, she's dominating anorexia.
I'm gonna call this one a win.
Yeah.
You know, take the W, hon.
Yeah.
Maybe even back off the touchdown celebration a little bit. Yeah, just cut down on the lard. Tess Holiday is actually a sad person because this is the internet gathering around and making fun of somebody who has a real mental deficiency of some kind. I've kind of quit making fun of her because she's addicted to the attention. She can't do anything else. This is the only thing that she can do to, participate in life. Yeah, stay relevant. Or she doesn't have a normal life. She doesn't have a job and a family and things like that she can go about her. She lives in.
She has a baby.
Is she modeling though? Isn't she like professionally?
But that's the thing. She has a kid fairly recently, and she, in my head, I would have thought that was enough to at least get her on a different path, because now you have to stay alive for somebody who depends on you.
No, honey, no. They don't do it for children. I'm just going to tell you what I learned from AA. You won't stop drinking. You won't stop drugging. You won't stop doing any of your shitty behavior until you want to stop doing that shitty behavior, and you will not do it for your children. Period. Dot.
Okay. So, yes, all the joking aside, the thing about her talking about her anorexic battle.
Are you shitting me?
Is that it's like somebody who gets their ass pinched somehow saying they're on the same level as somebody who's been, brutally attacked.
Yeah.
In some sort of assault. She is essentially sort of spitting in the face of real people who have to really deal with anorexia as an actual problem. Again, we're not trying to get outraged today. I have to remember, I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get whatever. I'm just laughing at Tess Holiday's ridiculous statement, and I'm not going to get upset.
Here's the other thing about Tess Holiday. Her BMI is probably 50, and she is going to die in 10 or 15 years. She's either going to die in 10 or 15 years, or she's going to lose weight. One of those two things is going to happen.
Well, nobody will be able to tell her I told you so when it happens, because it's probably going to happen really quickly. Let's just hope that she stops being a self-obsessed narcissist and actually gets her shit together.
I hope she encounters Christopher Hitchens in the afterlife, and he tells her what he thinks of her.
So,
Tess Holliday meets Christopher Hitchens.
Exactly.
The movie.
So I was on the internet, as one often does, and I ran into an ad on YouTube, and this guy started going off on what effectively looked like one of those sort of scam things, like, you know, get my book on how to secretly get rich.
Yeah.
And so I started going, I wonder what this scam is, because it seemed like a fairly elaborate sort of ad. So I put this guy's name, Jeff Lerner, into the Google machine and came back with this website called Scam Risk. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So I started looking at this Scam Risk article about Jeff Lerner, and I realized that scamrisk.com is itself a scam, where they simultaneously try to cover for the scammers that they write about, but then just in case try to siphon people that are being scammed off into their own scam. Let me go over a little bit of this.
Here are the top online scams you need to avoid today.
Oh my so goodness. You know, it's like he's an entrepreneur, co-founder of some institute, like that means anything, and he's basically trying to teach people how to make money with affiliate marketing. Okay, so far so good. So they give this list of things that they like about it. You know, what do I like? Oh, huge bonuses, because who doesn't love a huge bonus? And very effective for online businesses. You can tell just how critically he's looked at this thing. But he does mention that the affiliate marketing business model is saturated with upsells. Oh, that's the bad. So then he goes on to talk about, well, you know, what do you think we should actually be doing? Well, we should be doing something else. And there's links here for other people to go and make money doing other things to get that income stream that you really want. So at the same time as he's not calling out somebody else, he's just trying to siphon people off into his own thing. And we end up with learn more about digital real estate.
Oh my God.
Because why not learn more about digital real estate? But before we move on,
it's got a future.
Before we move on to that, I wanted to actually just give you a sample of what Jeff Lerner and his crowd are like, so that you know that it's a money-making cult. Let's see if I can do this show some technical excellence.
I think it's called hustle culture.
Hustle
Harry?
culture? Is that what it's called?
Don't forget to share the sound.
Okay, so here's the sound. I think we can do this. Here we go.
Rich, wasted a lot of energy trying to be rich, because rich comes with a stop sign. Wealthy, there's never a stop sign. You get rich on the way becoming wealthy. And
wait for it.
I knew that I really had to separate myself from a lot of distractions, and that includes family members. I have some amazing family members, and I have war stories with family members. You know, I've had beautiful people in my family have committed suicide, taken their lives, overdosed on drugs, died from drugs. Stories that a lot of us have, but I recognize that this was just something that was a distraction. It was misery. It was negative. It was dark. And something had to change, and nothing was going to change, Jeff, man. And I tried it. I tried it for many years. I'm 50.
So basically what this asshole is saying is, despite all the problems that people in his family had, for him to become successful, he had to jettison them. That's what you just heard.
So, all right, this is not cult-like behavior at all, fortunately.
Yeah, no, it's totally cult-like behavior, because he's trying to get
trying to get between you and your family or anything.
Yeah, well, this is actually Jeff Lerner's the guy on the right, but he's sitting here going along with all this crap while this guy, I love the freeze frame. That's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the kind of people we're dealing with. But as I went deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, I ran into more and more sort of stuff on this digital real estate thing. And I found this this company called let's see, it's Republic, and Republic basically raises money for various things, right? And they do it's sort of like a Kickstarter for investor type of things. And so they've got a bunch of information here about, investing in the metaverse. And it's just
Yeah.
like,
could I ask a question?
sure.
In this metaverse that I'm investing currency in, presumably, I'm taking dollars and investing in this metaverse, correct?
Mhm.
Can I see an income statement from that metaverse? Can I see a balance sheet from that metaverse? Can I see a statement of changes in financial position from that metaverse?
Well, apparently some people thought this was important enough that it's fully reserved with $75 million and 15,734
I know.
reservations.
If it's that great, why aren't they leading with how great it's performing?
Well, this particular fund here, this thing, it says it's a diversified portfolio of digital assets across 13 different metaverses.
Okay, there's this thing called consolidated accounting, and you can put together, and this is what fund managers do all the time, is they make a consolidated balance sheet representing the position of their fund. Can we get that for any of this? I bet no.
Well, it was featured in CNBC, New York Times, Bloomberg, Reuters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, they have this woman who's very smooth. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, who goes around on these shows on the air where it's like the line between paid advertisement and news is very, very, very thin. Like you can't quite tell. Yeah, so you can't quite tell whether it's like a real thing or not. And I'm just looking at these scammers just going, what the hell is going on? This is their white paper on curated real estate investments. So you got all this physical and virtual stuff here.
Wait, go back. Yeah, let's see Arc House.
Let's see Arc House. Because this is where people should be putting their money.
Yeah, I want to see Arc House.
A lifestyle club on 4 solar electric boats, creating an extraordinary villa. Tier 1 membership applications closed, now taking applications for Tier 2. Forward-thinking club has sold 3 forever membership NFTs and 8 Ethereum at 8 Ethereum each.
Oh my God.
Stable projected margins of 8.5 million, rising to 9.46.
Why will that be stable? How can you
don't put your money into this stuff. Just because they're using the language of finance doesn't mean that this is a good investment.
We are not giving out investment advice, by the way. I'm still a member, technically, I'm a member of the NASD. And so I am not giving out investment advice. I'm just saying that this sounds silly to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So between the small-time hustlers with their affiliate marketing and then the big-time hustlers who are legitimizing their stuff by going on CNBC and, the late-night hours, there are so many people out there just trying to scam everybody. And at a certain point, it becomes you're just abusing the stupid and people who are impaired, like elderly people who can't see through these scams sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
Don't you want your own bungalow, like on your own luxury island somewhere in the metaverse? Yeah. This is perfect.
Yeah, this is fine.
It's cheaper than an actual house here nowadays.
Yeah, well, you've got all these great investments that you can invest in, all these different things from crypto cards to, let's see, what are all of these things here? The metaverse real estate thing was what I was telling you about. Hydrohash, liquid cooled crypto mining powered by renewable energy. Yeah, give me some of that.
Oh my God, it's green crypto. It's green crypto.
Green crypto.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Oh, Sugarfina. Overrated
artisanal luxury candy.
Overrated. Absolutely overrated. They have a couple of good things though.
Yeah. Well, how about smart modular bike parking designed to scale in cities? I remember they had these things you could just chain your bike to it. It was like a pole with like a hoop.
If it snows or rains, it's going to be wet when you go take your bike home.
Yeah, you don't want your bike seat to be wet when you're riding home in the rain.
Listen, I can see probably how this is set up. You need to check it out, but make sure that this isn't set up like a limited partnership, where not only is the general partner's liability subordinated to the limited partner, but so the limited partner's return is subordinated to the general partner's, and the limited partner's return is generally capped. So be careful in something that is represented like this. See if it's a limited partnership kind of a deal, and especially if it has the words tax advantaged in it. Look at it very carefully before you invest, guys.
Well, what if I told you that it has not only Latinx founders, it says Latinx, Latinx founders, but also Black founders?
Oh, well, then invest in it without even thinking twice, because it's your social duty.
Yeah.
Consider it part of your reparations.
Yeah,
Bringing smart, secure micro-mobility infrastructure networks to cities. Just give somebody a place to lock their bike up, or they'll just take it into the office. That's the thing people do, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. I don't know about there, but here there was the folding bikes were a trend for a while, and those get fairly small, right? It's smaller than your standard bikes. That can be taken in to like a coat check area, fairly okay. I don't know.
Maybe you could pay homeless people to watch the bikes.
But the thing is, these things, these
sell the bikes, yeah.
Chop shops. That the police don't even bother. They know where the chop shops are. They can't even bother to raid them here because they're like, oh, whatever. It's too much hassle.
Do you think the car crime guys just like show up in the office where like the two bike crime guys are? It's like a closet somewhere, and they just go, "Hey, you guys solve any big bike crimes lately?" And they just give them a hard time like every morning.
Yeah,
actually.
Give them the shittiest parking spot.
We joke, but there was a giant bust a few months back where somebody took a photo from their apartment downtown onto the roof of this like abandoned parkade and said, "Oh, look, I found this ginormous, like it was like tarps everywhere covering a big bike theft ring." Right? They hadn't chopped it up yet. It was just they were all being stored up there. And the police actually came to bust those up. So I think that would have been their year's quota of big bust, all in one swoop.
Yeah, Bad Harry would make a Tess Holiday joke right now. Okay. Luckily, Bad Harry's not here.
The joke has been made.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is all terrible.
I like Ark House. We should go there again.
Yeah, we'll make that
Lifestyle
the Minions
Club
Clubhouse.
on
It's
water.
Be great.
Launching in Miami.
Oh, here's a rooftop bar and restaurant in San Francisco. Because well, that's one way to get away from all the poop.
Build higher.
It wafts stuff.
Yeah, good time. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Let's see. This is pretty cool because I like Buzz Aldrin. So Buzz Aldrin moonwalk photo. Oh, let's see. We should probably kill the sound. Sorry about that. Moonwalk photo set sells for nearly $8,000 at auction. Now, I guess they had numerous sets of these photos that they gave out after the, to like the press and different groups of people. And so they're still able to sell these things. A series of original NASA photographs from the Apollo moon missions sold for a total of 1.16 million Danish crowns, or $171,000, at an auction in Copenhagen on Wednesday. So there's still a fair amount of, I don't want to say buzz, because that would sound like I'm trying to do a pun, but there's a lot of enthusiasm for stuff still related to Apollo. And this kind of makes me happy. I mean, I wouldn't mind owning something like this.
Me either. I think it would be pretty cool. But this dredged up a thought in my diseased ancient brain about how would you feel if one of the new moon missions, say the Chinese, decided to go over and tramped through the Apollo 11 area. They landed there and decided to take some of our stuff and just kind of generally do whatever they wanted there. And would that bother you?
Yes.
That would bother me.
That would probably, because it's like going to a historical site and trampling all over it.
I bet something like that happens. If things don't get better, I'll bet the Chinese, if they actually do get a man on the moon before we do, and I think there's a chance they will, I bet they go near at least one of the Apollo landing sites and revisit it.
Mm.
Remake history by saying they got there first or something like that. I don't know.
What more in the idea that say you were on top then, we're on top now. You know, we're taking the mantle from you.
Well, you know the old joke, which is that because of the UV, there's no atmosphere on the moon, so it gets the full brunt of the sunlight, right? So the American flag that we sent up there has been bleached to a beautiful white, and which will make any aliens who were to show up there think that possibly the French got there first.
You're not wrong.
It's one of those nights. Man, trying to be upbeat's a lot of work.
It's
It's much easier just to be salty about everything and talk about how much everything pisses me off. Okay. So this is not the freshest piece of news. This is from last June, or I guess actually last May. But a team of Tokyo Medical and Dental University researchers published a study on Friday showing that oxygen-carrying liquid delivered through the anus can be used as a respiratory treatment on mice and pigs.
Wait a minute. Wait.
This is on the Anime News
Is
Network.
Jack still here? Okay, Jack is still here.
Is this a real thing?
Yeah. It's from the Anime News Network. It says the internet's most trusted anime news source.
Wait. Oxygen carrying liquid delivered through the anus, okay?
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're trying to get, presumably, to where the
Oxygenate the blood.
I know, but where are you going to do that? You got to get to the small intestine, right?
Well, did you ever?
You have the right receptor sites.
Well, did you ever see? Was it The Abyss?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So essentially, they're drinking perfluorinated fluid, high oxygenated perfluorinated fluid, so that they don't get crushed from the deep pressures. So this is basically like that, or as they had in Evangelion, the anime, they had this oxygenated fluid inside the Evas, the robots. So, but instead of breathing it, you just, what do they call it when they do the beer bong things in people's backsides? Butt chugging. Yeah, you butt chug it. That's what it's called.
I am so happy. I was so happy before I learned what that meant just now.
That people butt chug?
Yeah, that makes me sad.
Sora, please tell me you've heard of this before.
Of course I know about butt chugging.
Thank God. Okay.
I never heard that before.
You get wasted quicker.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
It also kills people a lot faster. You can go into alcohol poisoning really quickly.
Yeah.
Nice.
The point is that stuff that goes in there can get into your bloodstream, and the idea here is that oxygenated fluid can do that. So the technique, which the study's author, Japanese guy, called AVA method, refers to internal ventilation via anus.
Enteral.
Enteral ventilation via anus. However, the name also inspired by the LCL liquid depicted in the Evangelion anime, which the Eva pilots breathe inside their mechs. I wonder if Shinji's so upset about being in that thing. He's constantly complaining about not wanting to fly this thing.
Yeah.
If it has to be forced up his butt, now we know.
Yeah.
So here's, this would be interesting to know how much oxygen you can absorb that way.
Yep.
I would want to know how much oxygen they're able to ship because if they're, I mean, if you're able to get enough oxygen into the bloodstream, you won't have the urge to breathe. That's the thing that causes the urge to breathe, is when, you know, the CO2 level goes up in your lungs from the oxygen transport mechanism that stimulates a nerve and says time to breathe. Theoretically, you wouldn't have to breathe.
You wouldn't,
if it could ship enough oxygen. That's what I don't think it can do.
So, Skep, there's two parts to this model that we're talking about. First of all is we want to know the rate at which this stuff could be absorbed from a volume of fluid, right? And then once we know that, we would have to figure out just how much of this fluid you need to be cycling in and out of the anus to make this work.
Well,
Because
Harry,
you can't just put some in there and go, okay, we're done. You have to actually have it go in and out. There has to be like flow.
You just hit on the tough part of this, and that is, how do they ship the carbon dioxide out?
Yeah,
because it's not breathing. It's not happening in the lungs. You've chosen a different vascular point in the body. You know, you have this huge vasculature that's exposed to the atmosphere when you breathe. That's the interior of your lungs. Okay, you're not using that anymore. You're going to use the interior of your intestine. You have to have a way to ship out the CO2.
I think you've already put more thought into it than they have.
Okay.
So they actually have a quote here from the voice actor, one of the voice actresses, the voice actress, Shinji voice actress Megumi Ogata, commented on the study on Twitter saying, taking LCL through the anus, I've never done anything like that before. What's going on, Father? Misato-san, will the Ava method save us from coronavirus? Okay, clearly this is tongue-in-cheek. It's a bit of a different form from what one would expect, but still amazing.
Oh,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I don't think you should
take. I don't think we should take Anime News Network as an authoritative source on anything.
really? I don't know
including
why.
Anime.
Their science article seems pretty good.
Yeah, seems legit to me.
It's actually an interesting idea, though, of shipping oxygen into the body and shipping CO2 out without breathing would solve a lot of problems, potentially.
Assassin of the Gray shooting out into the world there with that opinion.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, you know what? It's only an hour and a half, but with only 3 of us here, we are actually done. That is the entire show.
What was the thing that we skipped?
Not important.
Oh, okay, so
it'll go better with another night. Where
do you want to see a pretty fish that isn't a horrible fish, and we can end on that?
Yes.
Here,
palate cleansing fish.
Okay.
It's the Rosefield Fairy Race. That's WRASSE, not the scientific name.
That's gorgeous.
But the scientific name is a little bit further down.
Ooh.
In the Maldives.
See, that's a good fish. I don't hate that fish.
It's found in the
Cirrolabrus Phenophenmea, actually, is how they would do that. Cirrolabrus Phenophenmea. Found living at depths ranging from 131 to 229. Not 230. They won't go down that far. 229 feet with ocean surface.
They're pressure sensitive, I guess.
Yeah, very extremely. Let's see. Yeah, the name honors the fish's stunning pink hues as well as the pink rose, the national flower of the Maldives. Phenophenmea means rose in the local Diavi language. So there you go.
All right.
A pretty fish. That's not stupid.
If we're not going to talk about that other stuff, we probably have to go because I'm out of not outrageous stuff. So thank you for spending the last 90 minutes with us. Sorry it went a little short tonight, but what can you do? Sometimes these things happen.
And remember, if you can get 6 of your friends to come, you get in free.
Don't listen to Skep and his weird offers about coming to his house. Good night, everybody. Zeus.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.